The following is a KPB Media Works production.
Choose your fighter.
All right, guys, we are back with another episode of KPBCast. This is Rodimus Prime of KPB, and we're here today with one of our favorite SNK community guys. Been around, coming out from the Midwest, and I think you reside now in Cali, right? Correct?
Yeah, I moved to NorCal. I want to say now it's been 2 months, so it's
All right.
still fairly recent.
Awesome.
But I was just gonna say,
Go
it's very different being here from New York, especially.
Right.
I mean, the environment is different. All sorts of like crazy stuff is going on out here in California that I was never expecting in my life.
Definitely. And we're gonna touch on that, but my manners. This is Andrew Lee, aka Aroo. So thank you for joining us today. How are you? How's everything? How have you been?
Bro, I'm good, man. So again, I was telling you this before, but I'm really flattered to have been invited to speak on your show. I know you guys have been putting on a lot of people. I myself, I was also one of the people that was put on first, I guess, by the KPB crew. So I got a lot of respect and a lot of loyalty to you guys. So thank you again for having me on. It's really a pleasure to be here.
First of all, you guys got to stop congratulating us and doing that. It makes our show seem so biased, and it's not. Like, we're really not bringing people here to say nice things. It's really about you guys. So, but
no,
again,
I mean, I know that you didn't coach me to say any of this stuff, but this is stuff that I feel from the bottom of my heart. So I really do appreciate it, and I wanted to put it out there to you guys.
Awesome. I really appreciate that. So, Andrew, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where you're from, favorite food, random stuff. Let's know a little about you, Andrew.
Yeah, sure. So I guess I spent most of my life living in Chicago, right? And that's also kind of where I got my feet wet as far as the FGC goes. But I didn't really get that involved with like the overall FGC scene in Chicago. It wasn't until I really moved out to New York that I started kind of coming out of my shell a little bit more. Back in Chicago, I met a lot of really cool guys. I met the KOF players, really, and that's about it, and a few other people. But I didn't like take it upon myself to, take on an extra responsibility. I was really just a player, right? But I think ever since I moved to New York, this was, I want to say 2016 or so, I moved to New York and got involved with the FGC there. It's really been great. I've been playing, mostly SNK games, like you mentioned, and I've been trying really hard to kind of build the scene with all the people out in New York, like you guys, like guys like Rome, Marco, names everybody knows now at this point if you've been paying attention to the SNK scene. But when we first started, we were really just still really unknowns. So it's been really a pleasure to kind of see how that has grown from like where we started, So that's, I guess, one major thing about me is that I put a lot of myself into kind of like the New York SNK scene. And that's something that I'll probably carry with me forever. It's really important to me.
It's always good to like just feel like that point in time when you made that, I guess, changing your life is different, right? From anything you've done before.
All
of us, we all enter like the FTC. That being said, we've had a lot of guests on the show that are like basically older, like into their 30s, even 40s, almost into their 50s. For you, the whole you kind of miss the whole arcade like life, right? Like that kind of goes by you. So what gets you, someone in your age and your generation, into fighting games from your standpoint, like from your experience? Like when did you become a fighting game fan, and when did you start getting into fighting games?
That's a really good question. I guess it all started, I played my first fighting games kind of on console at my friend's place. His older brother was pretty into fighting games. For somebody that's not part of the FGC, he was pretty into them. So I played them very, very casually with my friends at first. And, I thought they were fun as a kid, but I didn't really take them seriously until until KOF 13 came out. And of course, I missed also, like you said, I missed the arcade release of 13 because I wasn't really I was in suburban Chicago. I didn't get involved in any of that stuff. I don't think we even had a cab out there for KOF 13.
Yeah, it was like at that point, it was like any real surviving arcade communities were out in the West Coast. I don't think there's probably to my knowledge, there's never been definitely not a cab in the East Coast anywhere that I know of.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever you got the same thing that we got, basically console. So, but yeah, what was it about 13 that captured you? That said, I want to be great at this.
I guess. Oh yeah, that happened. I guess when I was like barely graduated from undergrad. I was back in Chicago with my family at the time, and I decided I was like kind of bored. I didn't have anything to do, so I just kind of decided to get into this thing, into KOF, and like really try it out. I saw some good resources from guys like Dandy J, who put out that really good KOF beginner's guide. I saw that, and I watched also the Juicebox KOF 13 tutorial series, and those really got me kind of on the path to learn how to play the games. And then I decided after messing around a bit to check the local scene out, and I got bodied. I was it was really ugly when I got out there, but it was a really small scene, and as all SNK scenes are really, it was really small. So they were happy to see me and happy to have me there. And I guess the rest is history from there. I got involved with them. They were a really cool group of guys, and they taught me kind of how to play, how to improve as a player, all that type of stuff. So I've got a lot of, I'm very thankful to the Chicago crew for that.
Okay. Something that I guess everyone in the life of a competitive fighting game player goes through, right? So you go in, you discover this game, you discover this community, which is beyond casually playing at home with your friends. So what was like your first experience in the tournament like? And then like from there, what did you learn? Where was your because we all hit this, we all hit a plateau where it's like you become better than what you know, but you can't proceed. And then you gotta, part of being a fighting game player is breaking that plateau. So especially at your level when you've placed very high in tournaments and won a couple, what is that journey like?
Yeah, so I mean, starting out since my first offline visit started off with me getting bodied so hard, I knew right from the get-go that I wasn't really good. I wasn't shit, right? So that was really helpful to my mentality, because it's good to know that you've got a long way to go when you're first starting out, so that you don't it doesn't stunt your growth or anything, right? But I guess once I started getting better and starting to understand how to play fighting games a bit better, I think when KOF 14 first dropped, I did pretty well actually in the first couple of weeks. I was in New York by that time, but I did pretty well early on in the game's life, and I was kind of feeling myself, right? I was like, yeah, damn, I'm kind of nice, right? But once people started to practice more and really break down the game, I wasn't keeping up with them, and it was frustrating, right? It's obviously, it sucks going from top 1, 2, 3 in your locals to less and less every single week, and it sucks because you don't know where to start or where you might be messing up, and it sucks also going back and watching all your losses, which is what you need to do to improve. I guess my thing to avoid plateauing is really to just play with purpose. You got to play a lot, and you got to play with purpose. You can't just phone it in, even against players that you think are that don't challenge you as much or whatever. You really need to focus and work on specific things, isolate holes in your gameplay and really work on them. And I think that type of mindset has really helped me improve a lot as a player. I'm not saying I'm the best player at all at this point, but it has helped me a lot. And I think a lot of newer players especially should get into that mindset early on.
What was one of your issues you had coming up? Was it execution? Was it the mind games? Was it understanding data, understanding your turn? What were some of the things that you struggled with early on?
Yeah, I guess my thing is I wasn't as studious as I could have been. I was always like I would be like the play by feel type of person where I just kind of do stuff that felt right, and if it worked, it worked. If it didn't, I don't know. Like I wouldn't know why it didn't work. I would just have to try it over and over and over again because I didn't know the numbers, because I didn't study the situations. I would just have to try it out a lot, and that really slowed slowed my development and growth as a player, especially early on. Now that I'm like a bit more experienced, I know what to look for. I can, like I was saying, I can kind of isolate certain situations and lab them out and figure out what went wrong, and apply it into my gameplay a bit better now. But really, I think that was the first major stumbling block once I started to really understand how to play these games.
When you started playing KOF, like most people, they get enamored by the story of the game, right? And like the characters, the personality in the game. Like, was it just the act of playing fighting with your friends, or was there more to it that got you attracted into KOF? KOF, excuse me.
Yeah, so I guess my first memories of KOF, my cousin in Korea, I was visiting my cousins in Korea, and they showed me on an emulator that they had at home, one of the older KOFs. It must have been like 95, 96, because I distinctly remember this one character goes by the name Iori Yagami. And he was showing me how this character, and he was showing me like this ground fireball. This character's like roll, he like just slides on the ground. It was the sickest shit I ever seen as a kid. So I was that actually stuck with me. It ended up sticking with me. And when I saw KOF 13 come back up,
You're
I
like,
was
hey,
like, oh
I
hey,
know
this
that
is my
guy.
character. Yeah, I know that guy. So I decided to give it a shot and see what that game was all about. And I ended up really liking it. So that was really my story and why I decided to pick up the game, because I thought Iori was really fucking cool.
Outside of fighting games, are you a fan of any other franchises or video games? Like, do you consider yourself a gamer in total, like just outside of fighting games? 'Cause it's funny because, like, in my journey, in my experience, I realize there are people who just like fighting games and don't really play anything else. It's rare, but there are people like that. I can't see that. I'm a gamer through and through, and I play so many different video games that's probably why I'm not as good as fighting games as I want to be. But are there any other franchises, games? Are you a gamer in general? Would someone be right in describing you as a gamer?
Yeah, I think so. I Before I really even got into fighting games, I was playing a lot of like Dota.
Okay.
Dota was my main, I think, game that I played competitively. That game also helped me sort of develop like the competitive mindset that you need to play fighting games at a higher level a little bit. I was still not very good at Dota, and I still was really young and stupid, but it helped. Uh, and I also played a lot of MMOs. I played like WoW a lot, and these days I'm playing a lot of Final Fantasy 14.
Nice.
So those games in particular are games that I've spent a lot of time playing. And I also, I play a lot of, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I don't play that many single player games, but I have played probably like the major ones, like, Zelda series, all that stuff growing up as a kid.
So you
So,
got you
yeah.
got your gaming passport stamped a bit.
Oh yeah,
You've been
yeah.
a couple
No, I
places.
mean, I've got it'll show up on my ID. It'll definitely label me as a gamer, like,
Awesome,
for sure.
awesome. Take away video games for a second. Like, who is Andrew as a person? Like, what does Andrew like on a Saturday afternoon when no games are involved, or like you're just tired of getting it sent out in like Samurai Showdown? You need a break. Like, what do you do?
That's a good question, right? I think I really do think games have a very huge impact on my life, and it's when I'm not playing something, competitively, I'll probably unwind by playing something else that's not so competitive, like a single player game or something like that. Or I'll hang out with some friends of mine. I like watching movies. I like TV, of course, like everybody else. Those types of things.
What's your favorite pro sport?
Um, I don't really have one.
It's fine. You can just watch like.
Yeah.
You have like a favorite series you like to watch right now, or
Yeah, I mean, okay, so these days I've been watching this anime, right, called Haikyuu.
okay.
I'm not a very big anime guy, but this it's a volleyball sports anime and it's really good. I highly recommend it to anybody that is into anything competitive at all. It's just it's exciting and it's got good character development and all that stuff. So I think it's a good show.
There's something about sports anime that's very hype. I feel like sports, athletic, all those types of animes. Like I like Hajime no Ippo. That's and I'm not a big proponent of boxing in real life because of like what it does to like fighters and stuff like that. Like which is kind of a bit of a contradiction because Steve and I, when we're done, we're going to watch some UFC tonight, and I love UFC, but I just feel like with boxing is like less care for like the fighter, so I have issues about things like that, like contact sports, like football with the concussions.
Yeah, football's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hockey.
but when you look at it on a anime standpoint, it's fun to like take that in, and the drama that they add to it is very interesting. So
Yeah, there's no stakes in anime because nobody's actually getting hurt or anything like that. So it's nice.
except for their pride.
Oh yeah, except for pride. Yeah.
Their pride's getting hurt. Aside from, I know before we got on, you consider yourself at this point an SNK guy. Any other fighting games that you really like that people in the community don't really know you for, but you like on the side you might play?
Yeah, there's plenty. I played before I even really devoted myself to KOF 13. I actually was playing, a little bit of SF4 on the side, and I really like, I like the Street Fighter series as much as the next guy. I like Guilty Gear a lot. I also played Guilty Gear kind of before I even really started playing 13. I played one of the accent cores. I think it was. I forget
Plus
which
R?
one. It was the one before Plus R, I think. I think it was just called Accent Core.
Okay. Yeah.
And I played that pretty casually, and I really enjoyed it. And I played a little bit of Guilty Gear Exard when it came out on console. I played that online for a while, and I'm not good, but I like it. And I'll enter if TSB is running a tournament,
You just
and
come and play.
yeah, I'll enter. If it's like $1, I'll enter and I'll play. I'll get bodied. There's footage of me getting destroyed, absolutely mauled by Marlon Pai's Zato on one of their archives. Yeah.
Don't feel bad.
Ugly, but it was
Don't
fun,
feel bad. He's done that to
Yeah.
plenty of players. Shouts to
Yeah,
Mama Pie,
sure.
definitely. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. So you have Chicago roots. You get your feet wet. Some fighting games. You come to New York. What was your expectations getting involved there, and what did they actually turn out to be? Why you were here in New York getting involved with not only KOF, but we'll get into it in a bit. Samurai Showdown. So how was that like for you?
Expectations wise, I knew New York is reputed to be kind of a rougher place with some people that are a little bit rougher around the edges. In my experience, it hasn't really been like that. When I got involved, everybody was very welcoming to me, and all the old school players, especially, they were particularly kind to me. So it was really cool, just kind of seeing how close everybody is and how cool everybody is. Everybody is mad cool in the New York fighting game community. So I felt very lucky to be a part of it. Shout outs to guys like, you guys, Henry, all the next level OG guys. Those guys are all really cool.
Yeah.
And they taught me a lot about fighting games and how to approach them and all that stuff. So I wasn't really expecting that, really. I was expecting kind of to have to fend for myself and
Kind of earn your spot, kind of
that type of thing.
prove yourself,
Yeah, and to a degree that does exist. If
Right.
if you are not good and you don't put any effort into improving yourself, and it's obvious, and you just show up, and you expect to be welcomed with open arms or whatever. I don't think that people would really be like that in New York.
Mhm.
You do have to prove kind of that you're willing to put in some work. But
Right.
once you do, I think it's a very it's a good camaraderie. I think that you build up with some of these guys. So I guess that's my main thing about the New York scene.
So you get here and you're meeting people and you're digging the scene. What becomes some of your best accomplishments while you're here in New York? Like how do you feel about them? Where do you feel like you could have been even better in terms of accomplishments? Because you and I, when I see you at tournaments, you're very adamant about your play. I watch you emotionally going ups and downs from your wins losses. So you take this very seriously, and which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So that being said, like in all of that, how did you view yourself as far as your accomplishments here? What you feel you could have done better while you was a part of the New York scene? More particularly in KOF, because we'll get to Samurai Showdown later. But how did you feel about your experience during 14 here? During that time?
I think in 14, I was surprised at how competent I was at first. I was doing pretty well, and I think that was important because it proved to me that I can make it work if I put in some work. But also, like I was mentioning before, kind of like the drop off, that showed me that I need to really put in a little bit more effort to kind of keep up with everybody else, because everybody else is just as good, intelligent, smart, putting in a lot of work as me. So like it's really, if you want to stay ahead of the curve, you have to put in that much more effort, and I think that was very important for me to learn. During the lifespan of KOF 14. So I really got to thank guys like Marco and Rome, Lazy Freddy from New Jersey, and a lot of the other New Jersey guys too, for really showing me that. Having good. Oh, Pachu, of course. How could I forget?
Yes.
Pachu always pushed me. So it was really, yeah. I think that's very important to learn, is that you need to put in a lot of effort if you want to stay ahead of the curve.
Who are your top?
As far as
sorry, go ahead.
As far as results go, I guess my best result pre-Samurai Showdown is at East Coast Throwdown. I forget which year it was, but KOF 14 had just released, and I got, I think, 5th place there,
Okay.
which is, it ain't much, but it's it was the most I had done up till that point. So
I don't think we were there that year.
I don't believe so. I don't remember seeing you guys there.
And we weren't there that year, I believe. But yeah, that was one of the first events. Yeah. Your mic was there. Mike, Aphrodynamic Mike was definitely there.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, he was there. He was handling some commentary and stuff like that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that.
Speaking of, you kind of picked up that little analysis bug, so to speak, during your travels. How's that been for you?
Yeah, it's been really great, actually. So like I mentioned before, commentary wasn't really something that I saw myself doing when I first joined the scene, but I mentioned that you guys put me on the mic the first time, really, at I think it was one of your Chinatown Beatdown events. I was on the mic for KOF 14, and I was really enjoying it. I thought it was really fun. I think it was me and I probably Aphrodynamic.
Probably Afro. Between him and maybe Rome would jump on sometimes. Sometimes I'll do it. But yeah.
Yeah, so that experience, I think, I was like, hey, this is pretty fun. It's cool to just kind of talk shit on the mic and flex what you know. So I guess that's kind of something I started thinking about as I played, kind of like trying to think of how best to explain decisions that people are making, try to explain thought processes. That I think that's very interesting when it comes to commentary, at least. So I was trying to focus very hard on how to kind of spin the story with that stuff in mind. And yeah, it's been very it's been good. People seem to like my commentary. I've been getting pretty good feedback from people, so I think it's been not a waste of my time. Unlike all the competing that I've been doing, which has been nothing but a waste of time.
In my time in streaming, I feel like the KOF community is very understanding of its commentary and commentators. I think more appreciative than anything. You go to a Street Fighter, event and say one wrong thing and they're hanging you, like, for life. So it's pretty fun. Now, do you think you have a different perspective because you're not only a fairly well-known commentator in the community, but you can be a threat at events? So you have that both sides, right? You're literally on both sides of the coin. You can be the player that someone's analyzing you and saying, hey, do this or don't do this. And then on the flip side, be that person who's giving the commentary. Is that like a special perspective that you have when you engage in both sides?
I think it certainly helps, especially when it comes down to analyzing player tendencies. It helps a lot if you play against them and you've had to kind of formulate these game plans or come to these conclusions on your own. When you play against them, it helps a lot to when you're trying to find things to talk about when those people are playing in a match that you're commentating. So I think that's one thing that I've kind of had working in my favor. But I don't necessarily think that you have to be a high-level competitor to be a good commentator, as long as you have that understanding of how these games are supposed to be played out and like kind of the way that players are approaching each other, the different just general game knowledge stuff. I think that's all it really takes.
Yeah, definitely.
And of course, the ability to make like a storyline, I guess, out of all the stuff that's happening at the events.
Right. It's good to know. Like, I know when I try to, whenever I do get on the mic, which is rare these days, but I take to things like if I know from my knowledge that there's a rivalry, I throw that into the mix because I know that there's a rivalry between these two players, and that always gets the interest of like the people watching, especially if you really know their history. That being said, like, who do you consider, at least in KOF, like, who has been like some of your, who's been your demons, who's been your rivals, who's been the player you just can't stand playing the most?
All right, so I've got an answer for all of those.
Okay,
so for rivals, I think it can't be anybody, but I guess there's two people. One guy from Chicago, my first one, I guess, that I would consider my rival, even though he bodied me every single time, was Mooney Blues. Shout out to Tony.
Okay.
From Chicago. He was always like a little bit better than me at KOF, and I think that's still true to this day. But it was always we'd always end up playing each other in tournaments because Midwest tournaments were never that big. And we'd always generally make it pretty far in the tournaments, so we could meet up with each other and play, and he'd always beat me. So he was, I guess, my first one. And then when I moved to New York, the first Chinatown beatdown, there was this guy named Rome himself. He was there, and he was on the microphone. He was on the mic talking with I forget who it was. I think it was Afro Dynamic. He was talking. Afro was like, "Hey, we got this guy Aroo. You're gonna have to play him. He's looking like a threat." And then this guy Rome, he goes, "Oh, that guy? No, he's free. I got this." And we proceeded to play. I beat him, but it was pretty close from what I recall. But ever since then, I was like, okay, this guy Rome, I got to be better than this guy because he wrote me off like the first time before he even knew me. So I want to be better. Than him.
We can't take that lightly, man.
Yeah, but of course, Rome is a good friend of mine.
Right.
It's very friendly. Even back then, it was friendly, I think, still. But he is of course a very strong competitor as well. So he keeps me sharp. So yeah, I guess that's rival number two.
We had a cast with him, and he definitely mentioned you as one of his favorite players, for sure.
Yeah, that feeling is definitely mutual. I love playing against that guy.
And now your most hated. Let's put this out there. Who can't you
stand
playing
my
at
most
all?
hated to play against, I'm going to put it out there. It is Marco. This guy, Marco Polo. I hate playing against him. He plays in such I guess it's a disrespectful way, but
he does.
he does things that it just gets under your skin. Right. So and it's hard to play around too because he does stuff that's he goes to the same well often, right? But it's very effective. So it's hard to play around. It's been enough to beat a lot of the players I think up in the New York area.
Right.
myself included. So I hate playing against them. I really do. So
Yeah, again, it's part of the growing pains. It's there to make you better as a player. That's the whole point, you know.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
think for a lot of us, we come in to this community from our couches and our friends, and we go, "I'm the best player in my block and my street, and all my friends suck." And you come in, you get bodied, and you're like, "What? Like you can do that?" And you know, and it's a humbling experience, like, and it never stops. Even when you get to a higher level, everyone has their demons, you know, and I for you, and I hope for everyone else, that it just makes you want to push yourself harder as a competitive player, just to be the best, or at least just to conquer your rivals, stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. I agree. And then another player I think that pushed me was Pachu.
Mhm.
Um, he is obviously a very strong player as well, and he plays in a very interesting way. I guess he plays like a super Mexican style,
Mhm.
which is it's very different from how I think most of the New York community plays. We New
Super
York guys, I
grimy.
feel like everybody's pretty lame, pretty textbook.
Yeah.
But Pachu, he's definitely one of those guys that makes the play by feel type of thing work really well, and that has also kind of influenced the way I approach the game, the way I see things. So special shout out to that guy. I love him. So
Yeah, he's definitely beloved in our community. I remember he pulled out a Choi one tournament when Choi was considered like tier, and he's running roughshod through everybody and being so annoying, and it was like it makes you really appreciate the game, you know, when you see stuff like that. Even though you don't want to be on the receiving end of that stuff, it's just like, you know,
yeah,
it's
funny you should
definitely
say
fun to
that.
watch.
It's funny you should say that because at ECT, the tournament that I got fifth in,
Mhm.
um, I had to play against Pachu, and he's the one that ended up eliminating me, and he did that with his Choi, and it was so bad. He exposed me so hard. I had no idea how to deal with this Choi character. So yeah, that has definitely happened to me, and let me tell you, it doesn't feel good.
Not feel good at all. It's horrible. Um, so you meet the New York crew. You get some KOF in. Uh, you hope for the best, but the community as a whole, you know, can only do so much. You know, especially in the game because you're competing with other fighting games. Even though you as a person, you're playing KOF. And then in the horizon, Samurai Showdown pops up. Well, what does that mean for you?
Yeah, I mean, before that Sam Show announcement, the reboot one, I hadn't really played that much of the series at all.
Mhm.
But once they announced that, I was like, hey, this is another game by SNK, so I might as well give it an honest shot. So I started playing the one of the older ones. It's Sam Show 5 Special, and
Yes.
I played that a lot. Um, in the months leading up until Sam Show, the new one came out, and I got pretty good at it pretty early on. So when the new one came out, I was a little bit more prepared than probably the majority of people for the game. And again, I had pretty good success early on in the game's lifespan, just like what happened with KOF 14. Uh, Sorry, I'm rambling. What was the
No,
question?
it's fine. You're totally good. So yeah, you get into Samurai Showdown, and like so you're making the transition basically. And I think what I wanted to point out was it's always good to play a previous game and give you some idea of what's going to happen when this new game comes out. And I think because you did that, you were prepared initially above everyone else. And even those, I remember specifically those first few weeks at next level, yeah, and it was basically between people winning or placing high that had Samurai Showdown 5 experience, you know, and
Yeah.
which carried them a lot. Through there was that one player, God, I forget his name.
Was it Jonah?
Yeah, Jonah. Yeah, with the
Okay,
Jinjuro
so here's the thing. Jonah actually had no Sam Show 5 experience.
at all. So,
He picks up the new game really quickly.
oh,
So he was yeah, he was a terror in the first in the early lifespan of the game, and then he had to go to school. He
yeah,
stopped caring
school
so much
bodies
about him.
everybody.
Yeah, but it was funny. It was fun playing against him. It was like between him, me, Sonic Soul usually.
Yes.
So during the early weeks, I think it was a lot of fun.
What does so you get into now? You get into Semi Showdown. How do you feel about SNK as a developer, like their style and their games? How do you feel about them as a company as a whole?
That's a good question. I think so. Sam Show 2019. That was the battle designer. I think was Neo G, who is also he's behind probably a lot of most people's favorite fighting games throughout history. He's just the guy's a legend, and I think that is evident in 2009 in Sam Show 2019 as well. I think the game is pretty good. Um, just mechanics wise, it's very solid. Um, I think SNK they're doing a good job with the balancing as well, in my opinion. Obviously, people are going to have different opinions on this, but I think that they're pretty in tune with how the competitive, I guess, the meta is developing in the game, and I think they do well not over nerf and not over buff certain things. With a couple of exceptions here and there, you can't obviously get everything right, but they do a really good job, especially compared to some of the other companies that I'm seeing. Some of the patch notes, a lot of people seem to have a lot of issues with them. I can't say the same about SNK.
So that being said, what do you think of the game competitively right now? Because in my opinion, I see a lot of like viable options in that game. Like I watch
Oh yeah,
a fair amount of Semi Showdown, especially as of late. Lots of different characters in top four grand finals. Um, how do you feel about the game as a whole in terms of viability with characters?
yeah. I think there's a lot of characters that are almost the entire cast. I would say is viable in a tournament. There's certain characters obviously that are going to have to work a lot harder than others, but there are specialists that are making it work within the community. Uh, and I think that the game is in a healthy state, even with all like it's the most characters that they've had since release currently, and like they're all balanced pretty well against each other. I think I think it's good. I think that they're in a good spot, and there's also going to be season 3 coming soon, which is going to come with its own major balance overhaul. So
Right.
hopefully they keep it up. They've got good momentum going into it, so I hope that they continue to make sensible changes and keep the game fresh that way.
That's good. Who's your top 5 characters? Your personal opinion.
Oh man, I am not the okay. So I'm gonna be
Okay.
honest. I'm
Oh, okay.
not
How about top 5 you don't want to deal with?
okay. Okay, that's better. That's
Yeah.
better. Top 5 characters I don't like playing against. I guess the first would have to be Charlotte. That
Mhm.
character is really difficult, especially for my character Yoshitora, uh, and she's pretty common. So it sucks that I don't like playing against her, but it's just the matchup that I have to get a better handle of. So that's I think number 1 character that I dislike. Probably number 2 would have to go to Ukyo. Um, Ukyo is another character I think that Yoshitora struggles with, and I don't like that matchup in particular. Uh, and 5, let's see. So those are the main 2. I think after
Right.
those 2, everything else kind of like drops off, and I
Mhm.
don't mind as much. But I guess for number 3, it would have to be Wanfu. He's one of the DLC characters, and people don't think he's very strong. I don't think he's particularly strong either, but I haven't put in that much work in that matchup, and I don't understand it as well as some other matchups. So, and I also haven't played it as much as I could have.
Right.
So I don't feel very comfortable in the matchup. So that's my number 3. Let's see, number 4, I guess would have to be Nakoruru. That's probably going to surprise some people, but um, that character is really good, Nakoruru.
I think she's good too. I think she's an
Yeah,
annoying character to fight against.
she's certainly slept on, I think. And if you have to play against a good one, when I went to Evo Japan, I played against a Korean Nakoruru player, and he was really good, and he was putting me through it. So it was that's that. I think that's a character I would not like to play against. Oh, Chris G as well. When he would play, he had a very strong Nakoruru. And I guess the last character that I don't like playing against would have to be uh, Haomaru. I guess he's just a solid character,
Yeah, solid all around character.
all around. And if you play against a good one, it's a struggle. You have to take a lot of risks to get in, get stuff started. So I guess that's my number 5.
That sounds good. What do you have any expectations for season 3? Is there a character you would like to see?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of characters I would like to see. It's probably been discussed to death, but I haven't publicly shared my shit yet, so I'm gonna do it.
Mhm.
My number 1 request, I guess, would be Amakusa. He's that character with the orb, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Amakusa, yeah.
I think it would be cool to have him because we don't really have a character like him. Well, I guess I don't know. Gong Sun Lee, the very newest character that they added, she's sort of like him because she's got kind of long limbs and all that. She's got a fireball and a teleport, but still, I think having Amakusa would be cool. I think the character is just really well designed, so I'd like to see him. I would like to see what's his name, Gyra, the grappler
Gyra,
with like the
yeah.
huge bead necklace.
I think you can if you play the game or you're well versed in the game's lore. For me, anyway, you can't have a Gyra appearance without nicotine.
Okay,
Right?
yeah, that's fair.
that's like the successor to nicotine. Yeah, that's my opinion. Like, I don't know how much nicotine experience you've ever had, or have you played Samurai Showdown 2. Nicotine was one of the first characters that had a move where you flip your controls. Yeah. It was like,
I see.
yeah, it's one of those. It wasn't like a secret special move, but it wasn't like a known move, and it was just weird. And like you land this move, and the controls are reversed, and it's like, and then the mix-ups are just crazy after that. So
yeah, that's cool. I like that type of design. It's kind of fallen out of favor in recent years, I've noticed, but it's fun when it happens,
Right, because I think Chizuru has the same thing. In '98,
she has the seal, so you
seal.
can't use special moves.
Yeah, right. Can't use special moves at all. It has the seal.
Shiki had a command grab that did that in SVC Chaos, so that might be what you're thinking.
Okay, so you mentioned Gyra. You said Gyra, Amakusa. Anyone else you're looking forward to?
Yeah, so those are my top 2. I think it would be cool to see all the other boss characters from Sam Show, but I doubt that it would happen, and they're not particularly interesting design-wise. So maybe it wouldn't be such a great fit.
Right.
But I think those 2 characters are my top 2. I would like to see Kusurageto. I know the character is very divisive. People either really like him or they really hate him.
That character
I'm
gives
more
me
in
the
the really
heebie-jeebies.
Oh yeah. He does to me too, but that's part of why I like him is because he's so creepy. But I would like to see him in the new game and see how they handle him.
It'd be nice to see another giant in the game.
Yeah, I think that's it'd be cool to have another one besides Earthquake, another huge body character.
Yeah.
So,
the one character that I would like to see right now is Seeger. I don't know if you've seen that character before. I just loved his like jumping heavy slash was basically like an overhead like gauntlet smack. Like, it was
basically like a pip slap.
yeah.
So.
and that I would love. And I always made fun of him because he had really small legs. So he was like,
oh yeah. It looks like he skips leg day every day.
He skips leg day. Like his waist is so small and he's just so buff.
Yeah, he'd be cool too. That's true. And I think him and I think Genon are the 2 that are missing from
my
Sam Show 2, and I think that they would also round out the cast very well. So I would totally agree with you there.
Definitely. So I know like COVID has like disrupted a lot of our community life, and we resorted to crappy games online over internet connections and stuff. What would some of your aspirations have been this year if COVID wasn't affecting you in terms of the fighting community?
That's a really good question. So I had I was planning to do Evo again, both commentary and competing. I was gonna try to travel as much as I could this year because I think last year was kind of like a breakout year for me as far as what's the word?
Success in terms of placement.
Yeah, I guess success, but also it's not awareness, but I don't know. I'm so stupid. I can't think of the word, but yeah, basically it's the year that I like was kind of discovered by like most people.
Yeah.
And I was trying to kind of ride on that momentum and do as much as I could this year. But obviously things didn't turn out that way.
Right.
So I wanted to do like the competing and commentating circuit for like as many tournaments as I could, including Combo Breaker, Evo, CEO, everything in the East Coast basically. So unfortunate, but that's how it works.
I know.
Or that's how it goes.
But yeah,
I'm making the most of it.
I saw you were definitely on the road doing your thing in the last year, and like just really getting yourself out there, both as a player and a commentator. Do you wish for like the double whammy of being hired to do commentary or only to figure out you're in top 8? Is that something is that a problem you want to have like one day? Like
yeah. I mean, it's really difficult
Okay.
to be a high level both competitor and commentator. I think at events in particular, you only have so much time and energy, and you really have to focus really hard on one thing if you want to do well in it, and then having to split your focus between competing and commentating. It does a lot to, I think, your mental over the course of the weekend, and I think it's more difficult to do than it seems. There's some players out there, player competitor or player commentator combos that do well in both, and they make it look so easy, and I don't understand how they do it because it's
very
really
hard,
difficult.
and I think you have to end up sacrificing one or the other. Not the name drop, but someone like even like Yipes, like very prominent, Marvel community player. He gets into like, or he started in Marvel, and then he's more of a color commentator. He's both actually. He's very analytical, and he can present it in such a colorful style that he work both styles like flawlessly. And he gets into Street Fighter V. This is not something that I feel anyone outside of his circle would predict, that he gets into Street Fighter V, and now he's on this Street Fighter V level. But I'm sure his competitive side had to take a step back because you're now this personality that can deliver content and break it down to viewers. So it's a tough road that you've chosen, but I think you can make it work. And from what I've seen you do, you're definitely on your way.
Yeah, I think Yipes is a very good example. He's like definitely one of the people I admire the most in the community as far as being a competitor and commentator. I think it's very clear that he isn't competing. He isn't like putting much effort into competing these days because the guy is of course an Evo champion, and he could be a threat if he so chose. But
Right.
I think he probably made the right decision. I think doing the commentary thing. It's more stable, if nothing else.
Right. True.
As as cynical as it is to think about it in those types of terms, but it is more stable, and I think it's also a valuable thing having somebody that's able to present your game in an entertaining fashion in the way that Yipes is able to do. I think that's worth a lot, like a whole lot. So I think it's good that he's sacrificing the competition thing for the commentary. I think in my case, I would probably end up doing something similar. I don't think I have what it takes to compete at the very, very highest level, like worldwide. That takes like a level of dedication and focus that I'm not sure that a lot of people have. And I don't know that I have it personally. I would like to find out, but if I have to choose between, commentary and competition, then I'll probably do commentary.
Okay.
As crappy as that sounds.
No, I think you can't go wrong either way.
Yeah, I'm gonna put effort into both, but
Right.
if I have to choose and focus on one, it's gonna be that.
How do you feel about esports leagues? Like we have like Street Fighter, and then you have between the Street Fighter League and then their Pro Tour, MK right now, Tekken. How do you feel personally about it? Do you think it's something that SNK games can benefit from? Or are we not big enough as community yet for that?
Yeah, I think SNK esports stuff. I'm not sure how successful it would be. They would have to get China on board, right? Because China has like all the eyes, all the money, and a ton of people that actually play the game over there as well. Right. So I think SNK's kind of ventures into the esports realm so far. They haven't been like 100% successful. They're not nearly on the level of like Tekken and Dragon Ball, Street Fighter. But it's cool that they're trying to get there. But I think that they need to, one, allocate more budget into it, and right. two, they need to, I think, to have another look at the strategy.
I think, my opinion, I think they're doing a wonderful job on the local level, where they give the local support to like all these places, like anywhere in the world. Like, I don't know if you ever follow like their Facebook page or anything, but like they'll sit there and they'll tweet like, "Oh, from Wisconsin, we're supporting this event," or from like, Alaska, we're supporting this event. I think that's really cool, and it puts all these little tiny communities out there, like, that someone may see when they say, "Oh, I didn't know there's someone in Milwaukee that's doing KOF events, or in Arizona," So that's what I do admire about it. But I definitely agree. It's also a community participation thing, right? Like, we need more players in the scene, and I think part of it, I think players are kind of intimidated by the game, or by the SNK's games in general, which will lead to like kind of my next thing. Like, how do you feel about someone telling you that your game is hard to play because of like inputs, or like, because they're not traditional, like double quarter circle forwards, and this is what we get as a community. Like the first thing they want to cite is like a raging demon, not raging demon, the raging storm. Raging storm. Yeah, the first input they want to cite. Like, every game has that in every character. Like, come on, dude, it's one character, maybe two, all of SNK that has it. So like, how do you feel about being told that your game is difficult?
It is disheartening that the KOF series in particular has this stigma of being especially difficult to pick up. There's been some discussion, I think, on Twitter recently about it, but I'm in kind of the camp that says that it's kind of overstated how difficult the games are. I think every fighting game is pretty intimidating to jump into.
Yes.
Because there's always going to be a huge learning curve when you're jumping in initially. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, it feels like people really associate KOF with this type of thing. When I don't think that it's quite deserved. I feel like it's no different from learning a new Street Fighter, or like fighting EX Layer, or any 2D game really. And I think, I don't know, I don't understand it. And I hope when 15 comes out, I hope we can kind of hijack that narrative and make sure that people know that it's really not that bad, and you should really just give it an honest shot, and not think about whether it's any harder or any easier than any other game that you played before, because it doesn't really matter. You can try it, and if you enjoy the game, then just stick with it. And that's really, I think, the most important thing, is to enter it with an open mind, I guess.
So, like,
because if you think,
go ahead. Sorry,
I was gonna say, because if you go into the learning process with this preconception that it's like this very difficult thing to do, your confirmation bias is gonna be like, it's gonna be looking for stuff that confirms your beliefs that the game is hard, and it's gonna like kind of make you lose heart. So I think it's important to not go into it with that type of mindset.
When you say this, right, you have older generation fighting game players, early 2000s into the 90s, that now complain about today's fighting game, right? Because the one now is, first it was a comeback mechanism, right? Every game has now a comeback mechanism. Like, I can be winning the game and you're beaten down to within 10% of your life, and then you have access to abilities now that can help you change the tide. So that does not sit well with definitely an older generation of players. Coming into this current generation, into the future now, you're seeing games like Grand Blue, where like the commands are very simplified. It's almost to the point, like, do you really have to learn a quarter circle forward motion anymore? Because I know in my personal experience, I've tried to teach people to play fighting games, and it's really about being able to execute a quarter circle forward, maneuver. Either you can or you can't, and that alone keeps people away from the game. So, what do you think about the current transition into like making games more accessible and easier for like the newer generation of players to come into play? Is that a good thing? Is it killing the community? Do you lean towards more old school ideals about it? How does that sit with you?
That's a good question. I think I don't think that I'll be crucified for saying this, but I don't really
It's
like
your
the
opinion, man.
direction.
It doesn't matter. It's your
Yeah,
opinion.
I don't really like the direction that some of these companies are choosing to take. Removing complex mechanics, simplifying inputs, that type of thing. And the reason I don't really like it is because I think that you need to learn how to do all this like extra stuff that we had to learn how to do. As like a gatekeeping type of thing. I think that those those things like complex inputs and certain mechanics, I think they add a lot of depth to a game that makes them both more interesting to play and also give it kind of a longer shelf life, because the game it doesn't become kind of stale and like figured out as early on. In some cases, they're like infinitely replayable, because the mechanics are so deep and complex and intricate and really difficult to master. I don't want to speak for any current games, but I do feel like, I don't know, there's just something kind of missing, and it feels like their shelf life is a bit shorter than they used to be. They don't make them like they used to, as the boomer would say.
Yeah. The age old statement.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've been feeling it with like the KOF 13 to 14 jump. It was pretty jarring to me, and then Sam Show 2019 as well. It's kind of a bare bones experience, which I get that it's like a reboot of the series, so it's not necessarily like they want to make it super complex at first. I get that. I respect it. I think they did a good job. I'm hoping that KOF 15 doesn't pull any punches. I hope that they make the game feel and play like a KOF game. As nebulous as that sounds, I know people are going to hate me for saying it, but there is something that you expect going into a KOF game. You expect it to play a certain way, and I hope that they retain that. I think they did a pretty good job with 14. The game, even though it is like a kind of a simpler experience, I think they still they captured the essence of KOF, and I hope
Right.
they continue.
I don't think you're doing anything that much less than the previous iteration. And it could all be in the programming and timing just to make things a little easier. But like it doesn't lessen the difficulty in learning, to me anyway. I feel like learning 14 was just as bad as learning 13.
Yeah, sure. Because I mean, all the difficulty in these games really is playing against the other person, and I get that, but I also don't think that you should sacrifice mechanical complexity for whatever misguided reason that these people are saying. I think that mechanical complexity adds small ways for players to interact that make the game interesting and more fun and more replayable.
Right, there's a level of depth that it brings when you're able to do stuff like that. For me personally, again, in my opinion, when you go that route of like simplifying, special moves to literally a direction and a button, you're really stripping it of its essence. I feel of what fighting games are. But this is someone again that have had years of fighting game experience under my belt, so I can say that. Can't we say that to like a 16-year-old that's just playing fighting games for the first time, or a 14-year-old, and that's what they have to learn and engage, and stuff. So I tend not to really trying to bring down the idea of like comeback mechanisms and stuff like that. There is a level of excitement to them when used properly. It's you can go either way for me with that.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think,
had a point, but I forgot it. I'll think about it and I'll come back with it.
No problem. We'll get back to it. What are your hopes for KOF 15?
Yeah, like I was saying, kind of like make it feel like KOF. For me, that would mean kind of having good I'm not saying I want KOF 98 again, but I'm also kind of saying that in a way by saying that that's kind of the standard that they should aspire to.
Yeah.
I think having a game like KOF 98 in this day and age come out in with all the modern bells and whistles with good online play and a more lenient input interpreter, less stiff controls, that type of thing. Right. I think people would appreciate that. And I think that's a good way to attract new players to the series to kind of really kind of boil it down to its essence, and in my opinion. And I think 98 does a pretty good job of doing that. Again, I'm not saying that they should make 98 again. I just think it's funny. I was railing against simplifying games, but now I'm saying they should kind of boil it down. But I think in this case it's appropriate, and as long as they don't take away kind of the mechanical depth of the series, I think that it's fine. Because people play KOF not because they want to do not because it's super execution heavy or whatever, or they want to do super long combos. They just want to have the KOF neutral game, which I think 98 is particularly
the best part of KOF was the neutral for me. I always felt. So as I'm sure you're aware, the storyline of 14 has opened up possibilities for any and everyone to return. Who you like to see? I don't know how much KOF you played before 13, or what of its history, but are there any characters you want to try to see in a new iteration of KOF? Because I had this conversation with Rome. And I've let it be known personally that if they don't return the USA team to KOF, I'm quitting SNK, and I'm not going to play fighting games anymore. That's how adamant I am about that team in particular coming back. I feel they deserved it. They've been missing for so long. So if that being said, who do you think should be someone you want to see return?
Yeah, sports team is a very common ask from people. I would agree. I would like to see them back. I think, but probably not as much as some other people, do. I think that they're cool, but they're not my top priorities. I think my top priority would be, I guess, the team Elizabeth from KOF 13. So that would be Elizabeth, Shen, Duolan. I'd like to see Ash back. I think
those are all locks at this point.
Back. I would hope so, man. Yeah. I really hope so. I hope that a lot of the newcomers from 14 come back because I think they're really cool. Especially Long is cool. I think Mian, Kukri, those are really cool characters in my opinion. So I really hope those ones can. Oh, Nelson. I really hope Nelson and Banderas come back too.
Okay,
because those are interesting.
I personally, I'm always into furthering storylines. I'm big on storylines when these fighting games coming, but even though there's not one company that actually stays on top of what they write and stuff like that, so everything gets jumbled and discombobulated. For me, it's always been if you can't have a character return, have some sort of its representative, return. Say if Robert Garcia doesn't return, I want to see a new, Kyogen Ryu character, someone that's a hybrid. I like those choices. We don't always have to see a Ryu and Ken in every Street Fighter. That's my opinion. But if there's a representative to keep their style going, those are always options I'm open to when I like to see new characters.
Okay, that's fair. I'm less open to having newer characters taking places of the older ones, just because I'm I don't know. I guess I'm a boomer in that way. I would like to see most of the return or most of the mainstays return. And then whatever new stuff we get on top of that, I'm very happy to see. But as long as they're not sacrificing, characters that I'm used to seeing in every KOF game, characters like a Kim, like a Terry. Even though I don't even play them, I don't even like the characters, but it would feel weird not having them. Yeah. So just make sure those characters.
the only reason why I say that is because KOF is running on a really huge roster, right? Like if you sit there today and take every character that's been in a KOF game, your system's going to explode because there's so many characters, and then not including the iterations. There's 5 different Ryo Sakazakis in terms of gameplay style and movesets. So that's why I mentioned what I said. Like it gives a way to bring back those familiar characters, but I kind of combine movesets and make them a new character. That's why I mentioned that. But yes, ultimately, I would like to see everyone that we know and love return in some form or fashion.
So you're talking about then like a case like Kusanagi, where it's like a new character, but it's like an old move set that they're representing,
right?
With that character, that type of thing. Okay, yeah,
or a hybrid moveset,
or hybrid, sure, like characters like Alice or something. Like I think that's cool.
Stuff like that. I like to see because to me, yeah, of course we love our characters, but I like to see some sort of innovation, some sort of creativity. And, I mean, and even that isn't always done properly. But I like to see them try at least,
Yeah, no. I now that I think about it, I think you're right. It's cool to see kind of progression in that sense. There was something I saw. Somebody pointed out that young Geese in whatever game it was that he was in. He's young Geese though. It's he's more like a striker based character. He doesn't have the counters and stuff.
Right.
But after he loses one of the tournaments to Ryo, after he gets like hit by like that one punch super, right? And loses, he switches up his entire martial arts style and then picks up like the counter based style,
right?
Which I think stuff like that is really cool. Like you were saying, kind of like progression, like reflecting the storyline in the character move sets, that type of thing.
And
yeah,
they're
totally
very good at it. SNK, because Art of Fighting 2 comes out, he does that. He has a move that he called the buzzsaw, which he actually says it verbally in the game. You go into Fatal Fury, all the way into King of Fighters. I think it was 96. The move returns, and that's what I'm talking about. Like he has it's the DP with kick. It's called the buzzsaw. It's kind of like his answer to Terry's power dunk in a sense. They work, both moves work the same way, but he actually uses the move as Young Geese in like the Art of Fighting 2. So I like to see things like that. I retired this technique, but I might need to bring it back now because it's better for my matchup, I guess. Stuff like that. Because it gets to the point. These characters are so old now, going on 30 years, and if they have Tekken movesets now. If you play Tekken 7 and you look at the newest character introduced, and then you look back at a Kazuya, right? Like the moves lists are so ridiculously like different compared to Kazuya probably has like 4 pages compared to like this new brand new character has like 2, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Now that you mention it,
so and I guess I wouldn't want to see a game where like Kazuya just has so many moves while this new character has nothing, right? But then SNK, what they do is they take some moves because now they have this whole history of moves and techniques, and make the best combination to make that iteration of that character for that game.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I never really considered it that way, but you're right. These characters do have a lot of history, and there have to be ways to kind of like advance the storyline, I guess.
Advance it, but honor the history. Like that's
and honor it,
yeah. I'm for both, definitely.
That's fair. Yeah.
So what brings you now? You're in present day California. What takes you there? Why
really
did you leave us?
So my lease ran out and I lost my job in New York. So the two things kind of coincided, and my girlfriend had some space in her apartment for me to stay in. So I was just like, all right, whatever, I'll go there. So I'm now living with my girlfriend in NorCal. It's trying to find something potentially here. I don't know. We've been looking all over the place, really, even like outside of the country. So just the way things are going here, it's hard to have any faith in the United States.
I understand totally. Yeah, if you guys have to, abandon ship, we totally understand, man. Your health and safety comes first.
Of course, I would like to stay. I would like to even go back to New York if possible, but it's just based on wherever we find work, because both of us we're both looking for work currently. Just so yeah, that type of thing is going on right now.
Are you able to stay same with some games, some
games?
Yeah. How's it been for you?
So Miranda and I, we've mostly been playing Final Fantasy 14 together.
Okay.
Really, not so much fighting games. I haven't really been able to get involved with the fighting game community out here yet since I moved in the middle of like the whole COVID thing.
Right.
It's obviously that's still going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to take any risks or anything
No, of course.
So
Your health and safety of first, and you always gotta put that ahead of everything. If COVID wasn't an issue, what did you think you'd be getting involved with out there?
So I know NorCal, there are a couple of KOF heads out here. Um, Sam Show also, they have a number of players as well. So I'd probably be getting involved in those scenes and getting to know those people and helping out in whatever way I can. I've been also helping run tournaments a bit more often these days. Ever since the shift to online, I've been working on online tournaments and helping run those. And I think it's fun and it's rewarding in its own way to run tournaments. So I would also probably get involved in like just TOing in general out here for any scene, not necessarily even SNK or whatever. Just 'cause it makes me feel useful, and it's an important job that needs to be done in the community. So I don't mind doing it, and I feel like I'm pretty good at it. So I would like to continue that as well, but obviously not until
Right, of
it's
course.
safe to do.
I think it's safe to do so, of course. Who are your favorite personalities in the community?
Ooh, that's a good one. So if I were to limit it to SNK, I think I really like Rome. Rome is definitely my favorite person to watch commentate. I think he's really entertaining, and I think he's kind of slept on. He hasn't really been able to have a lot of big opportunities yet.
Right.
But I think once he does get some, he'll be really good. Of course, I like Aphrodynamic as pandering as it is to say on the show, but I do love his style. He's very unique, very unique style, and it's impossible to emulate as much as I would like to try.
He's what we call the Bob Ross of commentary.
Yeah, the Bob Ross. Yeah, that's good. He's got that voice, that calming voice, and whenever I watch my own commentary back and like I hear my own voice, I'm like, holy shit! Like people can stand listening to me. Are you fucking serious? Like my voice is so annoying. So I'm very jealous of his gift.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess those are my favorites SNK wise. Gibby has also been very helpful to me as of recently, just like both like looking out for me and helping me get like opportunities in different places. So I'm very special shout out to him. I'm very big debt of gratitude to him. And also Min as well. He's not so much SNK as he is like general FGC, but he's one of those guys that if it weren't for him and Spooky putting me on their channel, and that when Sam Show 2019 was new, I wouldn't have any of the opportunities I've been given. Right. So it's got a lot of gratitude to them as well. So yeah, those are my favorites.
Awesome. What's been the best part of your journey in the FGC for you up to this point? Like, what have been some of the things that made you happy to be a part of the community?
So personally, it's been really kind of it was really surreal to be commentating at Evo, and that I think was one of the things that made me think like, holy shit, like I guess it was all worth it in the end, right? Yeah. So that's I think one thing, but also just the it's corny, but I really do value the relationships that I've made along the way with all the different people that I got to meet. It really broadened my horizons. And there's just so many people that I've met within the community that I'm so grateful to, for kind of, it's all sorts of different things, man. Like those people, they helped shape who I am today. You guys,
of course, are part of that, but also just like everybody that I run into. So I'm really, it's insane to me how like this group of people, we all like have come together playing these fighting games, but like it's become kind of something more than that. And I think that that's really something special.
A secondary family. It's always good to have a second family. You know, you can never have enough family. Everything. Um, what are some of your final thoughts, Matt? I don't want to keep you too long. But like, what are some of your final thoughts about the community, about just where we're headed? You know, what you like to see in the future?
Uh, that's also good. It's a little where I would like to see us go in the future. I think one thing that's related to the actual competition part is I would like to see more team tournaments. I think that's something that's kind of unexplored. Not unexplored, but it's underrepresented, I think, in the community. And I think that it's a very it's a good format, and I think it would be cool to see some more of that especially when offline stuff returns, and put I think some more effort and resources into running those types of events, because I think with um, proper planning and proper coverage, I think those types of events can be very exciting. So I'd like to see more of that. Final thoughts about the community. I kind of I said kind of how like thankful I am to everybody and all that type of stuff. I think it's I don't know. I don't have much more to say on that. I guess it's just keep on doing what you guys are doing. Everybody's playing games and having a good time with each other, but also keeping each other in check and being good people, helping each other grow as people, outside of the fighting games as well. And I think that's very important to do.
Andrew, aka Aroo, I thank you very much for your time. It's been an awesome time talking with you. Where can people find you? Where can people dispute your views if they feel they need to, or just to say hello? Like, how can we reach you on social media?
Yeah, so mainly I use Twitter these days. So you can find me at Twitter or my @ is AROOLEE, Aroo Lee. So you can, my DMs are open if you guys want to talk or anything. If you want to tell me I'm dumb for saying anything that I said on this show, feel free. Really, I'll read it and I'll probably respond too, because I'm stupid.
No, because you stand your ground, man. I respect that.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. But yeah, thank you so much, both you and Steven. Thank you guys for taking time out of your Saturday to do this with me. It was a lot of fun, getting to talk about this stuff. I haven't really thought about it before, and I apologize if it was a little disorganized.
No, this is the format. We just wanted to, clear your brain, see what's in it. That's it.
Yeah, thank you very much again for that.
Thank you
the opportunity.
for indulging us and stuff. And you have a great weekend.
Yeah,
everyone,
man, you too.
Yes, definitely. Everyone, again, thank you for watching. This was Andrew Lee, aka Aroo. I am Rodimus Prime, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.
This has been a KPB Media Works production.